In ancient Boeotia, a land of rolling hills and storied legends, the seeds of a tragic tale were quietly taking root. King Athamas, ruler of this fabled region, had a complicated family life that would soon become the talk of the gods themselves. His first wife, Nephele, was no ordinary woman. She was a cloud nymph, ethereal and mysterious. Together they had 2 children, Phrixus and Helle, who were beloved by their mother and cherished by the people. But Athamas, restless and easily swayed, grew weary of his otherworldly wife and soon married Ino, a clever and ambitious princess from a powerful family. Ino bore him 2 sons of her own, but her heart was quickly consumed by jealousy and suspicion toward her stepchildren, Phrixus and Helle. Phrixus, as the king's firstborn, was the rightful heir to the throne, a fact that gnawed at Ino's pride and ambition. She saw the children not as family, but as obstacles standing in the way of her own son's future glory and inheritance. While Phrixus and Helle played innocently in the palace gardens, unaware of the storm brewing around them, Ino's resentment only deepened. She masked her malice behind a sweet, practiced smile, all the while plotting to remove the children from her path and secure her own son's future. Ino's jealousy soon became an obsession, and she began to devise a plan so cunning and devious that no one in the palace would suspect her true intentions. The stage was set for a family tragedy that would echo through the halls of the palace and the annals of Greek myth. Phrixus and Helle, missing their mother and sensing a growing unease, clung to each other for comfort, finding solace in their unbreakable sibling bond. Ino's eyes followed them everywhere, cold and calculating, her mind always working on her next move. The palace, once filled with laughter and warmth, now echoed with the silent threat of betrayal and the chill of suspicion. Ino's scheme, if successful, would soon plunge the entire kingdom into chaos and heartbreak. The fate of Phrixus and Helle hung in the balance, as the shadows of jealousy and ambition closed in around them, threatening to change their lives forever. Ino knew she couldn't harm the children openly. The eyes of the court and the whispers of the palace would quickly turn against her if she acted too boldly. She needed a crisis to mask her intentions, a disaster so great that no one would suspect her true motives. Her plan was as cruel as it was cunning: destroy the kingdom's harvest and create a famine that would bring the land to its knees. One moonless night, Ino crept into the storerooms and secretly roasted all the seed corn, rendering it useless for planting. No one saw her, and no one suspected a thing. Planting season came, but nothing grew. The earth remained barren, and the seeds failed to sprout. The field stayed empty, and fear swept through Boeotia like a cold wind. Hunger began to gnaw at the people's hope. The people panicked, praying to the gods for mercy, but the famine only worsened. Their prayers seemed to vanish into the uncaring sky. Ino watched the chaos unfold, feigning concern while her plan took root. She offered false comfort, hiding her satisfaction behind a mask of worry. The desperate people turned to King Athamas for help, begging him to save them from starvation. He was tormented by his people's suffering, unaware that the cause of their misery slept beside him each night, whispering words of comfort. Ino comforted him with false sympathy, all the while preparing the next phase of her scheme. Her heart was cold, her resolve unshakable. The kingdom teetered on the edge of disaster, and Ino's web tightened around her unsuspecting victims. The famine was her weapon, and she wielded it with ruthless precision, determined to see her plan succeed no matter the cost. Soon, she would strike at Phrixus and Helle directly, the true targets of her malice, who remained blissfully unaware of the danger closing in. The trap was nearly set. Every detail had been carefully arranged, every risk calculated. The children's fate would soon be sealed, and Ino's wicked plot would reach its terrible climax. With famine raging, Athamas sent messengers to the Oracle of Delphi for guidance. But Ino intercepted them, bribing and threatening them to deliver a false prophecy. The messengers returned, claiming Apollo demanded the sacrifice of Phrixus and Helle to end the famine. The court was horrified. Athamas was devastated, torn between love for his children and duty to his people. Ino feigned sorrow, hiding her triumph. The king, believing the gods had spoken, felt trapped. The children's doom seemed inevitable. Ino's plan was almost complete. The day of sacrifice arrived, shrouded in a heavy silence that settled over the land. The people gathered at the ancient altar, their faces tense with anticipation and fear, knowing that something momentous was about to unfold. Phrixus and Helle, dressed in pure white robes as symbols of innocence, were led solemnly to the altar by the priests and their father. Every step they took was watched by the anxious crowd, who whispered prayers for mercy. Athamas, broken by grief and powerless to intervene, watched helplessly as the priest prepared the sacred space for the ritual. His heart ached for his children, but tradition bound his hands. Ino observed from afar, her eyes cold and calculating. Her victory seemed within reach, as her plan to rid herself of her stepchildren neared completion. But Nephele, the children's true mother, watched their plight from the heavens above, her spirit restless and filled with sorrow for her endangered children. She pleaded desperately with the gods, her voice echoing through the clouds, begging for their compassion and intervention to save her beloved son and daughter. Moved by her unwavering love and prayers, Hermes, the swift messenger of the gods, decided to intervene in this mortal crisis. Just as the priest raised the sacrificial knife, a golden ram descended from the sky, a miraculous and dazzling gift from the gods, its arrival halting the ritual in astonishment. The ram landed beside the altar, its fleece shining with a light so bright it seemed to radiate divinity, casting hope over the terrified children. Phrixus and Helle, realizing their salvation, climbed onto its back. With a mighty leap, the ram soared into the sky, rescuing them from certain doom at the very last moment. The crowd was stunned into silence, unable to comprehend the miracle they had witnessed. Ino's cruel scheme was foiled in an instant, her triumph slipping away. The children escaped the fate that awaited them, but as they clung to the ram's golden fleece, they knew their journey was only just beginning. The golden ram carried them far from Boeotia, soaring over mountains and valleys, away from danger and the pain of betrayal. Their miraculous flight became legend, a tale whispered for generations. Yet even as they escaped, tragedy still awaited on the horizon. The golden ram flew high above the world, carrying Phrixus and Helle to safety. They marveled at the lands and seas below, clinging tightly to the ram's fleece. But as they crossed a narrow strait, Helle, exhausted, lost her grip. She fell into the waters below, vanishing beneath the waves. Phrixus cried out in anguish, but the ram could not turn back. The strait was named the Hellespont, in memory of Helle. The rescue had come at a terrible price. Phrixus, heartbroken, continued the journey alone. The ram flew on, determined to deliver him to safety. They crossed the sea, finally reaching the distant land of Colchis. Phrixus had survived, but his life was forever changed. The legend of the golden ram and the lost sister would echo through history. In Colchis, a new chapter awaited. The story was not yet over. In Colchis, Phrixus was welcomed by King Aeetes, who recognized the divine nature of his arrival. Phrixus told his story, and the king offered him refuge and kindness. Grateful, Phrixus married the king's daughter and found a new home. To thank the gods, he sacrificed the golden ram to Zeus. But the ram's golden fleece was preserved as a sacred treasure. King Aeetes hung the fleece in a sacred grove, guarded by a fearsome dragon. The fleece became the pride of Colchis, its legend spreading far and wide. Phrixus's journey had ended, but the fleece's story was just beginning. The dragon's watchful eyes ensured no one could steal the treasure. The fleece's magic would soon draw the attention of heroes across Greece. The tale of Phrixus and Helle became a legend of loss, survival, and hope. But the greatest adventure was yet to come. The golden fleece, now guarded by a sleepless dragon, became the most coveted treasure in the world. Its story spread, inspiring dreams of glory and power. Kings and heroes longed to claim it, but the dragon deterred all but the bravest. The fleece shone in the dark grove, a symbol of miraculous rescue and tragic loss. The legend of Phrixus and Helle set the stage for a new quest. The Fleece awaited a hero bold enough to face the impossible. Soon, Jason and the Argonauts would seek its glory. But that is another story. The Golden Fleece remained, a beacon of myth and destiny, and so the legend lived on.